I remember being so hungry starting out, digging through the couch to find enough change to get gas to go see a prospective client. Scrounged the change together, got some gas, drove out to the appointment, and they didn't even show up. You know, here I'm supposed to be a financial advisor telling people what to do with their money, and I had almost none. I come from an awesome family. I'm more than blessed. There isn't anything I could do to deserve the family I was born into. Big family. Mom was one of 13 kids. They all had big families, and so we had regular family reunions. And we were all close, you know, there was lots of cousins and aunts and uncles, and we all knew each other. Something special happened in the Jurgens house, that's my mom's side. All of them were just exceptional people. My oldest sister, Julie, she really raised the bar. You know, she was the one to aspire to. She was one of the funniest people I've ever known in my life. My brother Randy is next. There's almost 10 years between Randy and I. You know, when you're little, that's a big gap. But, you know, when you get older, it really doesn't matter. And then my sister Jeannie, she's actually the one I stole Chamberlain and Associates from. And then my sister Judy after that. And then 5 years later, I came along. You know, in some ways, it was almost like an only child just because there was so much of an age gap. I never felt like an only child. I was treated well. You know, my siblings protected me. And then my aunt and uncle lived right across the street. And then I had another aunt and uncle right around the corner. So we kind of had our own community. I always had the itch to be independent, you know, be on my own. So getting my driver's license, that was it. You know, Laura came along at the perfect time. It was a blind date. First date was in Laguna Beach. Went to a nice restaurant, tried to wow her a little bit, you know.
I worked with this girl. Her husband actually worked with Rod at Knott's Berry Farm, and she set us up on a blind date. Well, I should say, she set him up with another girl at my work, and didn't work out. Then I was second choice, I guess, but she set us up, and we liked each other. And first date was in Laguna Beach, and then I think we dated for a year, and then he got married a little over a year later. And then we had our first daughter, Sarah, a year after that.
We started a little late, and so I'm a planner. And so everything's got to be set, you know, in order. And Laura, you know, not too long after we got married, she said, okay, it's time. And no, we need to, no, it's time, you know. And so I'm really grateful she did that, because Sarah came along, and a few years later, Rachel came along. Well, we've always had a great relationship and a great marriage. And when she was diagnosed with cancer, that was a shockwave. You know, I remember I was at the office when she called. She had a biopsy done. And, you know, we were thinking the best would happen, that it would be benign and not a big deal, and we would just keep going. And when she called, she said it was cancer. You know, the blood drained out of my head, and went to my truck, and I'm driving home. And I just remember driving along thinking, why are you people just walking around? You know, like, don't you know the world is coming to an end?
That really jolted us, and my kids were still young, so I tried not to let it affect them growing up. But it was hard. It was very hard. I mean, if it wasn't for Rod, I always tell him this, that I don't think I'd be here. I mean, he was the strong one. I was just so weak, couldn't handle it emotionally, physically. And he's the one that just saved me. You know, he was there. He was my rock. You know, when I was down, which was a lot of the time, he was there for me.
We clung to each other. You know, we supported each other. And I know a lot of people will say that I was strong, but that's the time that I really went to my knees. Yeah. So that was the best decision I made. And I will take credit for that, for handing it up and just relying on my faith and standing in God's strength. And that allowed me to provide strength for Laura to get through what she was going through. A lot of marriages break up because of cancer, especially breast cancer. We just made the decision to use it as a tool to deepen our marriage and our faith and our love for each other and our whole family. And so it just, again, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, especially Laura, but the gifts that came from it, I wouldn't trade for anything. You know, honestly, I had a preconception about fatherhood and the type of father I would be. You know, you had these like TV visions of my daughter's gonna have this problem at school and she's gonna come to me and sit on my lap and I'll give her my great wisdom and all will be well, right? Didn't work like that. And it was so much deeper and more complex and ultimately better than anything I could possibly imagine. Now, I mean, you know, there's that part of you as a dad that you want them to go, you want them to launch their lives, you want them to be happy and pursue the things that they want.
My dad always instilled the importance of education and hard work. So that's something that I kind of took and ran with. Just got my doctorate in August.
I think a lot of the wisdom we were given is generational wisdom. So it was wisdom that our parents gained from their parents and they gained it from their parents and it was passed down. And especially our daddy has so many stories that he's told us over the years. And I think it's one thing to try to tell somebody to be humble and work hard, but it's another thing to actually share a story of loved ones showing those ethics. And it was really inspirational to hear that all the time growing up. And then to actually know our grandparents personally and see the kind of people they were and how they shaped our dad to be. And he just carried that right down to us, and that was really important to him.
Founder of Magnum Wealth Management, founded in 1991. Originally, we started as Chamberlain and Associates out of a spare bedroom. That was about 33 years ago. And the name Chamberlain and Associates, I borrowed from my sister Jeannie. She had a certified shorthand reporting business in San Francisco and Sacramento. And I gave her a call. I was struggling to figure out a name, and she gave me the green light. So it was supposed to be temporary, but the name stuck for 3 decades. I knew that eventually I'd have to change the name. I wanted to get my name out of it and have the name more assumable. I'm not going to be here forever. Magnum has a lot of meaning in our family. And so it was a natural fit and the name was available. So it's been a great transition. So the way I started in financial planning, sort of the reason for me to get into this business was I had a close friend at that time who was getting into the business. He had a mentor, and he started to tell me about some of these advanced concepts, and he was green in the business, so he wasn't able to fully articulate it, but I was concerned about him. It sounded a little too good to be true, and so I started just naturally investigating. It was something I was interested in anyway, and as I really thoroughly investigated it, what he was doing, I found it was true. It was correct, it was right. The epiphany was, well, why doesn't everybody do this? It kind of led me down that path. And I would say another thing that sort of solidified that decision to get into this business was A story I'd heard from one of my favorite speakers, Brian Tracy, and he was talking to a large group of people about basic principles of success and how anybody could be successful. A young man pushed his way through the crowd, and in a very loud voice, he said, "I live in a group home, and we repair furniture. And every month, I save $100. If I continue to do that, can I be successful too?" Well, Brian happened to be looking at compound interest tables the day before, and he knew that if an 18-year-old just put $100 a month away into a quality investment, the chances are he would retire with more money than 90% of the people in the wealthiest country in the world. And that to me was just a miracle. I took some time to really evaluate that, and what I found was my motivation now is even stronger than it was when I first started. The more impact that we're able to have on a client's life, the better it feels, the better it is for everybody. So my initial goal in starting Chamberlain and Associates was to be successful and have an impact on people. Making money and knowing what to do with it are two separate things. And so I put my head down, I went to work and really dug deep into my craft and developing advanced strategies that could really have a positive impact on my clients. I found the more I did that, the more opportunity I have, really developing narrow and deep relationships with my clients. That's what's paid off.
Our entire family was invested with him, and he becomes part of your family.
I started with him when I was about 18 or 19 years old, and now I'm 27. Been a lot of life changes that I've been going through: college, my first job, now getting engaged and moving on into wedding season, and he's been navigating the whole path for me and making it a super comfortable financial situation for me, where I feel like I have a lot of trust in him, and he foresees these changes in my life and he helps me plan for them. And it's been really comforting to know that he's there through all of these big life events for me.
Rod was amazing in how he stepped up to help us navigate through my mom's passing. Our relationship, it just grew so much stronger because we knew he had our back. No one I felt that has had my back in the financial realm anything like I feel here at Magnum Wealth.
My clients are the best clients in the world. I will brag to anybody who sits still for a minute about how great my clients are. They're just good, honest, decent people, and I would do anything for them. Magnum Wealth Management exists to help you build and preserve wealth, true wealth, wealth that goes beyond money and something that time cannot take away.